So anybody who is just logging on, welcome to class. It's Brittany with Scott Leroy Marketing. So today's class, like I previously mentioned, is going to be a team class, meaning that if you are not recognized as a team or you are working as a individual agent, you will not have access to most of the information that we're going over today. This is going to be 100% geared towards the team functions that only teams or agents that are associated with teams will have access to. All of class is going to be done through the command portal. So if you guys are following along, just make sure that you're logging into command, and that's going to be agent.kw.com. And then I had previously mentioned this, but for anybody who is watching the recording, I'm going to be working out of a Rainmaker's account. Overall, a Rainmaker's account is very similar as far as access goes, just some of the things that I will have access to edit and essentially click on. You may not see that you have access to it. As far as the actual functionalities, though, you guys will have the same functional access. It's just some of the settings that will go over you may not be able to click on. So once I am logged into command, the first thing I want to go over is going to be the actual team settings. So just like anybody else's individual command account, you guys have a settings platform. In order to access that, if you click on the top right-hand corner where you guys have your name, you're going to notice first thing is you're going to have two profiles. You have one with your name and it usually has personal underneath it. You also have another one that has your team name, and then it will have essentially your role or your title with that team right underneath that. If you are clicking on your name in the top right hand corner and you are only having your personal profile, you are not set up as a team. So, again, a lot of what we're going over will not apply to you. If you're seeing two profiles, or some of you may be associated with more than one team, if you're in multiple market centers, that's completely fine. But as long as you have two or more profiles, everything that we're going over will apply to you. So once you guys have confirmed that it looks similar to my screen, we're just going to go ahead and click on settings. And I'll click accept cookies so you guys can see my whole screen. So once I have my settings up, the first thing we're going to pretty much just dive into this section right over here on the left. I'm just going to go ahead and click on general settings, and we're just going to kind of work our way down this list just to go over again what you guys have access to. So once I click on those general settings, the first thing you guys are going to see is default account and team management. Default account, when I click on this, pretty self-explanatory. What it's letting you do is it's letting you select which account you want to be your primary account. So in other words, if you guys are working 100% of the time out of your team account, you may want to select your team account as your default account. All that means is when you log into command, you won't have to worry about clicking on your name and swapping back and forth. By default, when you log in, rather than it being linked to your personal account, it's just going to automatically drop you under that team account. So again, if you guys are working out of your team account 100% of the time, you can go ahead and select that. And again, it's just going to make it a little bit easier when you guys first log in. But you can always toggle back and forth. Under that is team management. This is something that mainly Rainmakers are going to have access to. Depending on your permissions, you may also be able to access this, but mostly it's going to be the Rainmaker. That being said, when I click on the actual team management section, you're going to see that as of right now, I only have Connie's name showing up. That's because I'm only under her personal profile. If you guys are clicking this and you're only seeing your name, it just means that you're on the personal profile. So in order for the rest of our settings walkthrough, we're actually going to click on our team profile. And if you're on multiple teams, whichever one you want to click on, it's completely up to you. You're essentially going to have the same access. But once I click on that team profile, you'll notice now that's my top one. It's letting me know that's the one that I'm under. And you'll also notice that my actual team management screen does adjust. Again, if you are not set up with unlimited permissions, or you're not set up as a Rainmaker, you may not be able to see this screen. Don't panic. I'm just going to go over what Rainmakers have access to edit, and then we're going to move on to that next section. But to start, if you guys are set up as a Rainmaker and your screen looks similar to mine, should have all of your agents, any admins that you have on your team, they should be populating here as long as they're associated with your team. This is a great platform to check if you have a new agent joining your team, or if you maybe had an agent or an admin leave your team. You would want to make sure that they're either now populating here or that they've been removed. So this is a great way just to kind of recall who's associated with your team, who has access, and kind of like a way to double check who is actually linked to your team. That being said, if you guys are in a situation where you have an admin that maybe isn't recognized by the office, but you'd like them to have a login for command, you don't want to be giving out your Rainmaker login and you want them to have their own login, you can actually generate a login for an administrative assistant, whether it's a marketing assistant, administrative, tech coordinator, whatever you guys want to call that role. You can give an unlicensed person access to command through your Rainmaker account. And in order to do this, all you would need to do is come right to this page and you're going to see add member. And I'm just going to go ahead and click on this just to show you guys what it looks like. If you don't need to add an admin, you don't have to follow along for this part, but I'm just going to go ahead and click on add member. Once we get this pop up, it's essentially just going to ask us, what type of member are we adding? If you're adding a team member, this is somebody that your market center is going to have to recognize, meaning that chances are a team member is going to be a licensed real estate agent or somebody who essentially is either licensed, needs to have a license on file, or just needs to have their entire own login. By clicking on Add Guest User, this is allowing you to create an admin account, which is essentially like a condensed command account. It will not give them access to all of the bells and whistles through the MyKW platform, but it is going to give them access to command. It's going to allow you guys to assign contacts to them if you need to. It's going to allow them to see those team contacts if you give them permission. It's going to allow them to run your marketing if you have somebody who's maybe going to be solely responsible for setting up smart plans and things like that. This login is going to allow them to handle that by logging in under their own credentials. So in order to set that up, we would just click on Add Guest User. And then once you guys have this page populating, what it's letting you know is that as a Rainmaker, you essentially have 2 seats available for admins. So you have 2 spots available. As of right now, Connie isn't using either of those. So we can just go ahead and we would add in the first name and the last name of our administrator that's joining our team. We would add in whatever email address that they actually want to use for their team account, whether you've set up an account for them, whether they're using a personal Gmail account, whatever it may be, that's the email that you would want to populate here. Then password, my recommendation is do something very straightforward and make a note of it. They can change this password down the line, but this is just more so you guys can remember it, because resetting the password is actually kind of a pain. You have to reach out to Keller Williams International or completely remove the account and reset it up. So picking something very simplistic is going to be the best route, just to make sure you guys don't accidentally lock yourselves out. Once you guys have added in everything with those red asterisks, you would just click on I agree, and then you would send the request. What will then happen is your MCA will be notified that you did add an admin to your account. They would essentially just approve it. Then within 72 hours, and you'll see it right here, within 72 hours, what's going to happen is this email address that you've notated here is going to get a welcome email. It's going to have their username in that email. That username that is being provided to them is then going to work with the actual password that you've set up. So that's something just to keep in mind. It does take 72 hours. So if you know that you have an admin starting next week at some point, my recommendation would be to get the ball rolling now, just to make sure all of their access is set up properly. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of that. If you guys do have a new member, meaning you have a physical agent that needs to be joining the team, whether they're licensed or it's just somebody who's going to need a Keller Williams email address, they're looking to have everything, they would need to be recognized by the office and the MCA. That being said, that's something you would just want to touch base with your market center with. Let them know that you do have somebody joining your team, and they can go ahead and add them to the appropriate platforms in order to generate an actual login. If you do have a guest admin set up here, it will notate that right in their role as well. As a guest admin or a guest team member, you can actually delete them from your team just by clicking on these three dots. You'll see right here, I only have request role change and request removal because she is actually an associate, so she's linked to the market center. If it's an administrator and it has a guest login, you'll actually be able to remove it instantly, and it will deactivate their login instantly. As far as permissions go, that's one more thing I just want to touch upon really quick because this is something that has recently changed. Team permissions are essentially the Rainmaker's way of allowing whoever it may be access to certain team platforms. So as of right now, you can see Connie has all three people on the actual team set up with unlimited permissions. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on the actual permissions in the top right-hand corner. So if you guys can see this screen, go ahead and click on permissions, and this is just going to pull up the breakdown for you. The first thing you guys are going to see is the very brief overview. You have your unlimited breakdown, your enhanced breakdown, and your standard breakdown. Standard is what every single person added to your team is going to start with. This means an admin that you add, an agent that you add, anybody who essentially gets added to your team, whether it's by you manually adding them or your MCA adds them from the back end of their account. They're going to be set up with standard. From there, the Rainmaker can manually update them to either be enhanced or unlimited. If you are going to be working out of your command database and you're going to be using that team database to either share contacts, you're going to be using the command marketing, whatever it may be, essentially you're functioning out of that command database. It is in your best interest and the agent's best interest to bump them up to enhanced. As of recently, the way that standard works with the actual database, if an agent is set up with standard, it actually blocks them from importing directly into the team database, meaning that they won't be able to tag their contacts. It causes a little bit of a disconnect as far as undoing an import or editing contact profiles, editing any marketing, setting up smart plans, editing smart plans. They won't have access to any of that. Standard essentially just puts them under the team, but gives them no actual access to edit or adjust or maintain anything. So that's just something to keep in mind. For the full permissions breakdown, which I do recommend taking a look at this, I also hyperlinked them in the notes that I dropped in the chat. But if you guys do want to take a look, you can always click on the full permissions breakdown and it pulls up this sheet. I just also hyperlinked it right on that notes list for you, just in case you don't have access to this section. It's also in there. But you'll see it just breaks everything down, what people will have access to under management, contacts. You'll notice standard does not have a lot of access as far as importing contacts. So it will let them import. But what happens is they require the agent to relinquish ownership, meaning that if John Smith is a part of a team and he is set up with standard and he goes to import 200 contacts into that team database, it is automatically going to require he select the owner of those contacts to be the team. So any contacts that he imports from here on out, they're owned by the team. So heaven forbid if he ever did leave that team, those contacts would no longer be his and he would not get those back. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're importing. If you are importing and you're as enhanced, it will allow you to select the owner as either yourself or the team. Again, just a mental note when you are importing contacts to keep an eye out for that. It will also allow you to select who is assigned to them, which normally, if they're your contacts, you would select your name as the owner and your name as the assigned agent. And then they would populate in that team database just so everybody can see them, just in case you ever needed help with a contact or somebody needs to leave a note, maybe they had touched base with them, whatever it may be, but it would still allow them to populate in that team database. You'll also notice smart plans. Enhanced will allow them to actually make edits and pretty much adjust all of the smart plans as well. Standard will not at this time. Designs, it breaks everything down for you guys. So just as a heads up, I would recommend kind of taking a look at this just so you can see exactly what agents will have access to based on the permission that you set them up with. Again, it's hyperlinked right in the notes. So if you guys need that, it's available right there for you. But I would take a look at this and just adjust your agents accordingly, especially if you guys do have a transaction coordinator that is maybe working on a part of your team. You may want them to be bumped up to something like unlimited. That way they have access to everything. Again, completely depends on what role they're in and what they're planning on handling for the team. As far as the role, and I did see that question come through, as far as the actual role for your team, you'll notice that Connie, for her team, she's set up as the team leader or the Rainmaker. It will not only show up on your drop down, but it also shows up on your actual all team members. So when we're just on team management, you'll see her actual role. That is something that is designated by the Market Center administrator. If the role is not showing up correctly, that is something you will want to touch base with your MCA and have them adjust that manually on something called the team tool. It is something that only the Market Center administrator has access to. From what we've seen, the actual role does not make a big difference in regards to access. The permissions is really where that's going to kick in, but the role is more so just what their role is going to show up on the website, or if somebody ever came across your team profile, it's going to label them as whatever role they're filling. So if it is drastically off, I would recommend having that adjusted. But as far as the actual role, it's more so a vanity plate versus the permissions, which is going to give them access to what they need access to. I just got another question. On enhanced, can team members only edit the ones they own or any on the team database? On enhanced, for the actual database, they can edit contacts that they own, and then they can also see all of the contacts in the team database. If they are not an owner, they cannot change ownership. So agents who are a little bit nervous about importing their entire database into a team database, no one can change the ownership of that, only you can, which is why when you're importing, making sure that you're selecting yourself as the owner. And again, if you can't, it's due to your permissions, but making sure that you're selecting yourself as the owner is very important. Again, if you are looking to import contacts maybe on a case by case basis, I'm also going to show you guys how to move them over to the team from the personal database more on a manual level. So we're going to go over that as well. But I just want to make sure, especially with permissions where it does interfere with a lot of access, knowing where and how to adjust those is very important. Two things on teams really quick before I jump into the next section. If you guys are set up as a team very recently, or you guys have somebody added to the team by the Market Center, it does take 72 hours to update. If you guys change permissions or you remove somebody from the team, or really any edit you make in this section, it's a 72-hour update. It does have to go through 2 overnight feeds. So again, just keep in mind, if you have somebody joining and you know they're going to be joining, maybe get that done about 72 hours beforehand, just so the day that you guys are sitting down with them, they're ready to go. So just keep that in mind. The next section we are going to jump into is going to be right underneath that, and it's command settings. And the first thing I just want to touch upon is applications, which I'm sure most of you have probably seen 1,000 times, but I'm just going to go over the differences because where you guys are associated with a team, this entire section that populates here, the Gmail connection, Facebook ads, Command Mail, Twilio, all of these platforms essentially only interact with your personal profile. That being said, when it comes to like DocuSign, Dotloop, and all of that, no matter what platform you're running through, your opportunities will pull from either one of these. It doesn't matter if you're on the team profile or the personal profile. PySync, if you guys are syncing connections with other platforms, this will only communicate with your personal database. It will not communicate with your team database as of right now. Your Facebook and your Twitter will also only communicate with your personal database because as of right now, your team database does not communicate with really anything under the campaign section. If you guys were to ever run a campaign, it will automatically link to your personal database. Therefore, these also only link to your personal database. Just something to kind of make a mental note of. For the productivity, the calendar, linking Gmail, if you guys are looking to have the actual email correspondences populate in the timeline of a contact profile, that's what these are for. That being said, it will only work for contacts that are in your personal database. It will not connect with team databases. As of right now, we are unsure if that's something that will be updated in the future, but we do get that question a lot, so I just wanted to touch upon that really quick. Same thing, marketing automation, that's all through the campaigns. Those would all be through your personal profile. Last but not least, we have Command Mail and Twilio. MailChimp will only communicate with your personal platform, again, because your campaigns, which that would be running an email campaign, are only associated with your personal profile. However, Command Mail and Twilio, we're going to be going over this once we get down to the little smart plan section, but as long as you guys have your Command Mail set up and your Twilio set up, Connie doesn't have her set up at the moment, you can actually set this so any smart plan you guys are using under that team database will pull from your Command Mail and your Twilio. And I'm going to go over that in the actual smart plan section, but I want to make sure that if you guys do have this set up, which you guys can always just click on manage for Command Mail and it will make sure that your email's set up and you'll be good to go. For Twilio, we do have a tip video that goes over how to set that up, how to subscribe, how to select your Twilio number, which I can drop in the notes for you guys as well. I'll drop that in there after class. So, but if you guys are interested in signing up for Twilio, that's where you guys can send out the automated text messages through smart plans. It's a pretty cool service. But if you guys are interested in that, I'll make sure I drop the video. But both of these can be used on team smart plans. And I'm going to show you guys how to confirm that setup as well. But I just wanted to briefly touch upon that because, again, this is a question that we get very frequently for teams. Underneath applications, we have contacts. One thing for contacts is the contact archive section. If you guys have contacts that are archived, you'll notice that there are now two profiles if you're a part of a team. So for example, when I click on contact archive, I have nobody populating in here. If I swap back over to personal profile, I have one contact in here. So they actually each have their own archive section. That is something to keep in mind because when you're associated with a team, if I were to go and add Leah testing with her contact information into either my personal database or my team database, the system is going to automatically see this person hiding in the archive and it will not let me re-add them. It's going to view them as a duplicate. So that's just something, again, keep in mind, if you are ever having issues manually adding in a contact, always check your archive. But where you guys are a part of a team, make sure you're swapping profiles and checking both. For database wipe, pretty standard, archive all contacts. This is huge. Keep this in mind. For archiving all of your contacts, it is only going to communicate with your personal database as of right now. It does not matter if you're on your personal database or your team database. From what we have seen, when you click archive contacts, it is going to archive every single contact in your personal database. It will not touch your team database. We're not sure if that's to change down the line, but it's just something, again, to make note of, because heaven forbid you do click that button on accident, it is going to archive all of your personal contacts. Underneath that, we have our contact tags. Pretty straightforward. If you guys have been using the command database at all, this is probably information that you guys have already come across. You do have the ability to tag any of your contacts. However, you will notice that now when you guys are associated with the team, you have team tags and then you have personal tags. So she has all of her personal tags populating under her personal profile. These are all editable by Connie. Then when we go over to the actual team profile, we have a smaller amount of tags that Connie's actually created, and anybody with unlimited access should eventually have access to edit these. It's kind of in the works. As of right now, in order to manually create a tag in the back end, it has to be done by the Rainmaker. That being said, if you're a part of a team and you have a list of contacts on an Excel spreadsheet you're trying to import, and they all have custom tags and they're separated by a comma and you're adding those in, it will automatically add those tags to team tags. You just can't physically come into the back end and create a custom tag. However, if you're importing lists and the custom tags are notated on those lists and you're putting them directly into that team platform, you're golden. The tags will automatically get created for you. So don't panic with that. And of course, if you guys have questions on tags or if something looks wonky, always just let us know. You can shoot us an email and we can take a look at your account specifically. Underneath that, we have lead sources. This is a Rainmaker only thing. This actually allows the Rainmaker to come in here and generate or create custom lead sources that all of the agents that are on the team would have access to use. And that's actually the same for tags. Anybody on the team will have access to those team tags. It's not just for Connie. Anybody can implement them, they just can't create them. Same thing for lead sources. Connie can come in here and create lead sources. Maybe you guys did like a special event or whatever it may be, and you captured some leads, and she wants to make sure that that's an option for you guys to manually add in contacts. She can go ahead and create that for you. And then you would have that as an option under lead source when you're adding contacts in. Again, importing, if you have a lead source added to a list of imports, that will automatically go in. This is more so for case by case. If you're adding 2 or 3 people manually, this is great to know that you can have a custom source added there. Underneath that, we have custom fields. This is something that you guys will have access to on your personal profile. But again, this is a Rainmaker special. This is something that only a Rainmaker can actually create. Custom fields are really cool. This is something to keep in mind, especially around the holidays. We've seen some teams or even just individual agents use like favorite pie or hobby or whatever it may be, just a piece of information that the command database maybe doesn't regularly ask. It allows you to actually add something in. So for example, if you added like custom field favorite pie, that means anytime you go and add in a contact, it would have to be done manually through the contact profile, but you'll then have an allotted spot that says favorite pie and you can type that right in. And then when it comes down to it, you can sort based on that in your command database. It's pretty cool. It's just something to keep in mind. If there is a piece of information you're looking to notate on a contact profile and you don't want to just dump it into the notes section, you can have the Rainmaker create a custom field and then it will show up directly on that contact profile for you. Underneath that, we have lead routing. And for lead routing, again, this is something that only the Rainmaker is going to have access to set up. I am going to go over how to set this up really quickly, just so you can see what it looks like and what it entails. In the notes that I had dropped in the chat, I did give the full breakdown on how to set up lead routing and the different options, which will kind of break it down a little bit further as well. But I just want to make sure that you guys can physically see what it looks like and what the purpose of this is for. If you have not yet dabbled with lead routing at all, lead routing is a great tool in order to essentially capture and delegate leads that are captured by the team. So when it comes to lead capturing, which again, we also have a tip video specifically on that I just posted, I want to say a couple weeks ago. I'll make sure that's in the notes for you guys as well. But as far as capturing leads as a team, it's a little bit different than when you're an individual agent. So in order for the actual team to capture its own leads, they would need to be captured by a Facebook ad run through the Rainmaker's account, only the Rainmaker's account. So in other words, if you are John Smith and you're on a team, but you're not the Rainmaker and you run a Facebook ad, any leads you capture are going to go into your personal database. Connie Yates is set up as a Rainmaker. If she runs a Facebook ad, any leads captured by that Facebook ad are going to be given to the team. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Another thing to keep in mind is any lead that is captured by a landing page, a standalone landing page, will automatically go into the team database, meaning lead routing would pick it up if you have lead routing set up, and it would delegate it out to whatever agent you have it set to go out to. As far as websites and mobile apps, those are always going to go to the personal database. Even if it's Connie's website where they are using that for the team website, any leads captured by the actual website or any leads captured by the mobile app with Connie's name on it is going to go into Connie's personal database. She can move those over to the team. That's completely fine. But as far as what lead routing is going to capture and pick up and essentially delegate out to your agents, those are going to be leads captured by Facebook ads and leads captured by landing pages. And again, I did a full tip video on this that kind of breaks it down and shows you guys a little bit more in depth. And that's in the notes for you guys. So if you have the notes, definitely check that out later. And as always, if you guys get stuck, just let us know. But I want to show you guys what creating a route looks like, just so you guys can familiarize yourself a little bit with that process. If you guys want to follow along, you can. If it's something that you're unsure about right now, don't panic. You don't have to set this up. I'm just going to go through the motions and just kind of explain what each step is. So when I click on create route, it's going to pull up this screen, first allowing me to give it a route title. For this one, I'm just going to label it team class. And today is 428. Underneath the actual title, we have the routing rule. When we click on the drop-down list, if you hover over each one of these little eyes, it's going to break down what that actual rule means. That being said, in the notes that I have shared with you guys, I do have them all typed out with a little bit more information. So if these don't make sense, or if you're just questioning what it's actually going to do, don't panic. There is more information in the notes that I shared. But my personal recommendation is to kind of just read over them, see whichever one would apply to you guys. You have weighted random, which is essentially going to allow you to kind of pick somebody who's going to receive more leads than someone else on the team. You have jump ball, which is going to send all of the leads kind of like rapid fire at the same time to everybody, and whoever accepts it first, that's going to be the new assigned agent to that lead. Round robin is just going to keep rotating the same list of agents. However, keep in mind that the first agent is always going to get the first lead. The second agent that you have notated is always going to get essentially the lead if the first agent doesn't accept it. This is the one that we're going to do because I feel like this is the most confusing. Or assigned to agent. We have seen some teams that maybe have like one or two agents that they want to be getting these leads, whether they're newer agents or experienced agents. You can also just do assign to agent, and it's going to allow you to just pick whichever agent you want to assign this specific lead route to. You guys can create these to be as general or as specific as you'd like. We've seen some teams that have like 30 or 40 lead routes set up. We've seen some teams that have one or two set up. Whatever works for you guys is completely fine. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do round robin because, again, I think this is the most confusing option. So I just want to kind of show you guys what that looks like. As far as setting a route schedule, you guys have access to select the days. Pretty straightforward. You can have it run every day of the week. Maybe you only want them to run on Monday through Thursday for these agents, and then Friday through Sunday will be a different group of agents, whatever you'd like. I'm going to leave every day selected. And then as far as times go, you can set up custom. For example, again, if you're setting up multiple routes, you can always do from like 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. Or you can run 24 hours, whatever it may be. We have also seen some teams that will set up a time frame specifically because they know their agents may not be checking their phone at 3 o'clock in the morning. And if a lead comes in and you set up a deadline for maybe like 2 or 3 hours, they may actually miss it just due to when that lead is sent to them. So by checking off a custom set time, what that means is if a lead is captured at 3 o'clock in the morning, lead routing is not actually going to get triggered with that lead until 8 a.m. So in other words, this lead would be, or this route would be set into motion at 8 a.m. that next day. So in other words, your agents aren't going to be getting text messages at 3 o'clock in the morning when a lead comes through, which is just something to keep in mind. Setting up your deadline, again, pretty straightforward. You just set up however long you think you want your agents to have in order to accept this lead. That being said, 3 minutes is cruel because at the end of the day, with technology, it usually takes about 10 to 15 minutes for a lead to go through and go through the system. So 3 minutes, they're essentially going to see the lead or see the potential lead pop up. And by the time they go to accept it, it's going to already have expired. I would recommend doing at least an hour. So I'm just going to do one. At least an hour. Again, we've also seen teams do 24 hours or one day, whatever you want. But doing anything under 15 minutes may not be practical just with how these lead notifications are sent out currently. They should be coming through on command. You'll notice my little bell at the top has a red icon. That is what would essentially happen if a lead was routed to an agent. They would have a notification here. They should also be getting a notification to Kelly, the app. However, keep in mind the Kelly app is in the process of being phased out. So as far as tracking those notifications down, they would really need to be either checking command or just kind of monitoring Kelly to make sure that they're coming through, which is why giving them a little bit more time to locate it is definitely going to be beneficial. So once I have that information added, I'm just going to click on next. And I did see your questions come through. Right when I get through this, I'll go through those with you guys. As far as lead sources go, again, we have seen some teams that will do specific lead sources, whether they have leads coming in from other areas or they're running different versions of Facebook ads, whatever it may be. For this one specifically, I'm going to select all, meaning that any lead that is captured by the team platform is going to be picked up by this route. And then I'm just going to go ahead and click on next. Here's the fun part. So this is where you actually get to set up the round robin section. Again, the way that round robin works is you can essentially give somebody a weighted number, and what it's going to do is it's going to make them first every single time. So in other words, if I go ahead and I'll just select all agents, so I have all three to kind of play with. If I have Connie set up as 1, Leah's set up as 2, Lisha's set up as 3, what's going to happen is every single lead captured is going to go to Connie first. That being said, if Connie rejects it or she takes over an hour to accept it, it's going to go to Leah. If Leah accepts it, it's going to stay with her. If she rejects it or if she takes more than an hour, it's going to go to Lisha. That being said, Lisha is not going to see too many leads if Connie and Leah are accepting every lead that comes to them. In all honesty, if Connie's accepting every lead that comes to her, Leah and Lisha are never going to see anything come through. So that's something to keep in mind because we have seen some teams set up round robin and not realize what that entails. It's essentially saying that the person who is labeled as 1 is going to get the lead first every single time. And the only way number 2 is going to actually get any leads come through to them is if number 1 rejects it or misses the cutoff date. And that trickles down to number 3 as well. So if number 2, again, misses the cutoff date or rejects it, maybe they just don't have time or it's not in their area, then number 3 will get it. So that's just something to keep in mind. But once you guys have kind of moved these around, if you want to change the numbers around, you can. And then you would just click on save. And that's going to create a lead route. The beauty of this is it gives you the basic information right here. You do have access to edit at any time, and it would bring you through exactly what we just did. Nothing is locked in stone, which is great. You can also duplicate it. Say you want to do the exact same thing, but maybe you want to do it from 6:01 p.m. until 7:59 a.m. and you want to do one specifically for overnight, whatever it may be. You can always duplicate it and tweak that and leave everything else the same. So you don't have to keep recreating the wheel. It's going to allow you to duplicate them as you see fit. You also have access to archive them. So for example, if you do want this completely gone, you would just click on archive and it's going to dump it under the archive tab. You can also pause it. So for example, maybe you just want to pause them for a day or two or vacation, whatever it may be. You can just go ahead and click on the active button and it's then going to drop it right under paused. And then once you're ready to reactivate it, you'll just click the button again and it will drop it again back under active for you. So just keep that in mind as far as lead routing goes. This is a great tool to just know it's there. My recommendation would be start when you guys are first setting those up. Maybe don't do them very specific. I would stick with a more general lead route just to make sure that you're capturing everything. If for some reason a lead does trickle down through your entire team and nobody accepts it, it's not going to go away. It's going to go into lead pool. And I'm going to show you guys where that is right after we go over smart plans. So I am going to show you guys where that is, where it's located. That way you do know where to check for leads that maybe just weren't accepted, or leads that weren't captured via lead route, or someone hasn't assigned them to themselves, whatever it may be. But just keep that in mind. The next section is opportunity settings. So opportunity settings, you guys have access to set up client updates now. We do again have a tip video that goes over this specifically. This is a pretty cool tool that you guys now have access to. It allows you to essentially update not only the agent who's associated with the transaction or with that client, but it also allows you to notify the actual client in regards to where you are in the transaction, if you guys need anything. It allows you to kind of automatically touch base with them based on where you are in the transaction. It's pretty cool. It's a neat tool to just kind of, again, know that it exists. We have a tip video that I will drop into the notes for you guys, just so you guys can watch it when you have a second. I want to say it's like 10 or 12 minutes long, but it goes over how to set it up and how to navigate it through the back end of your account. The next one, design template, is not essentially live yet. It's something that will hopefully be live soon. Opportunity tags, it's the exact same thing as contact tags, except your Rainmaker can also set up opportunity tags. This is something that only a Rainmaker can set up as of right now. Opportunity archive, it's the exact same thing as your contact archive. If you guys have ever archived an opportunity under the team, it essentially just allows your Rainmaker to be able to go in there and mass reactivate them if there was ever a glitch or an issue where you guys accidentally archived one. Down to team permissions. I'm going to click on this really quick. So team permissions for opportunities. This is something to keep in mind. If you are set up as a Rainmaker, this is something that only you will have access to see. And what it's saying is that if you have yes selected, it's allowing your teammates or your agents that are on your team, it's allowing them to create personal opportunities as well as team opportunities. If you have no selected, it means that your teammates or your agents on your team cannot create private opportunities. It means that every single opportunity that they create under opportunities needs to be under the team. It will actually give them an error message if they try to do it on a personal platform. Or you can also select certain agents. For example, Leah is an administrator, so they have her set so she can kind of do either or depending on what she's trying to accomplish under opportunities. This is just something to keep in mind if you guys are getting an error message for an agent who is trying to complete an opportunity under a team platform. Come in here and just toggle it to yes and then back to no and give it a couple of minutes. Sometimes that will push it through. But if you guys ever come across anything like that, also let us know. We can always take a look and just see what might be causing that for you. Underneath that, we have reporting. As of right now, you'll see it doesn't even expand. They are working on that. We're hoping that that will be launched soon. And then we have smart plans. So for smart plans, this is huge. If you guys are running your databases out of the command platform, if you guys are running your databases out of the team platform, making sure that designated agents are set up under the Rainmaker's account is going to make everything a lot easier in the long run. So once I pull this up, you'll notice here what it's doing is it's allowing the Rainmaker to designate how things are set up from that smart plan on a mass scale. So you'll see here we have tasks. What this means is it will automatically be assigned to the contact assignee. So again, John Smith, he's on a team. He imports contacts into that team database. He sets those contacts up on a team smart plan. Because as many of you have probably noticed, if you do import contacts into a team or move contacts into a team, all of your personal marketing is disabled. So personal smart plans, personal campaigns, none of those can be used on team contacts. So once you've moved contacts or imported contacts into that team database, you'll be using team smart plans, which is what this is going to essentially delegate. So for tasks, you can adjust that to be contact assignee or Rainmaker, email, and SMS. This is what I had touched upon earlier in regards to command mail and Twilio. If you are setting this up to be contact assignee and SMS to be contact assignee, what that means is as your agents are setting up smart plans and they're using those team smart plans with their contacts that they've moved over to that team database, it's going to allow them to send those smart plans as themselves, even though they're essentially going to be through the team platform. What it's smart enough to do is the system is going to automatically brand those smart plans with their email. It's going to pull the footer of those smart plans from that agent's marketing profile. So as long as the marketing profile is set up, all of that information will pull over. We always recommend you do actually process a test first, just as a heads up. But same thing for SMS, it's going to essentially be sent from the agent's Twilio account. That being said, something to keep in mind, it also means that it's going to be using your allotted amount, meaning that for emails, you guys get, it's either 2,000 or 2,500. I'll have to check on that for you. I'm drawing a blank for command mail. But what it's going to do is it will use up your allotted amount. And same thing with SMS, MMS, it's going to be using your Twilio credits. If this is left as Rainmaker, this means that anytime John Smith takes a client that he's added to the team database and added them to a smart plan, all of those smart plans, the emails, the text messages are all going to be coming from the Rainmaker. It is not going to have his name on it. It's going to have the Rainmaker's name on it. It's also going to have the Rainmaker's footer, and it's also going to be using the Rainmaker's allotted amount for command email and for Twilio. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you guys are using the team smart plans, I would just confirm how you guys have it set up so there are no surprises. So again, if you guys are using team smart plans, have your Rainmaker just double check this, make sure that it looks correct for them, and you guys should be good to go. I'm not going to save this on her. Nope, she actually had Rainmaker. Last but not least, and I'm not really going to dive into it because we don't have too much longer, but underneath Connect settings is your marketing profile. Marketing profile, as far as making sure that this is set up, you want to make sure that everything with a red asterisk has been filled out. And once you've gone through and you've updated all of this information, most of you will already have this set up because this is something that we do set up for you. But as far as just making sure everything has something there, you have your office information, your contact information, everything's been added. If you guys do have any compliance information that needs to be added, you would just want to make sure that's updated. But you'll want to make sure that you have everything implemented and then just save it. As long as you guys have the information added to your marketing profile, it is going to brand everything in your command platform. So this is going to pull to your website. It's going to brand your mobile app, any smart plans that you run out of your personal database or campaigns that you run out of your personal database. It's going to pull from here. Any smart plans you run out of the team database, as long as they're set to contact assignee, they're going to pull from here. But you do need to make sure that this little toggle switch is showing as green. So as long as that's green, you are good to go. If it's showing up as gray or white, just click it, it will toggle to green, and then it will essentially share all of the information that you've added in here with all of those platforms I just mentioned. As far as marketing profile goes, if you guys just clicked on this and it's not set up at all, shoot us an email and we can just kind of take a look at it for you and make sure that you're set up properly. support@scottleroymarketing.com. And we can get over the command setup questionnaire over to you and we can take care of setting that up for you. So as far as actual settings go, that is everything for settings. I do want to dive into contacts really quick just to show you guys what that looks like for teams, because again, it is a little bit different than individual accounts. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on the actual contacts icon. And if you guys ever question which icon is which, white KW, red square, it will actually label all of them for you, which is sometimes easier. I'm just going to go ahead and click on contacts. And I am seeing somebody did drop a question, when you copy contacts from a personal to a team. Mine has been erasing all of the tags. We're going to be going over that right now, so that's perfect. And then let's see. So as far as tags go, as of right now, I'm on the team profile. I'm going to jump back to the personal profile just to show you guys what it looks like and how to manually move contacts over if you guys are in a situation where you want to be moving contacts over. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the personal profile. Once I'm in this section, these are essentially contacts that are set up in Connie's personal profile. What this means is the team platform does not have access to them. If Connie wanted to set one of these contacts up on a team smart plan, she would not be able to. If Connie wanted to create an opportunity, she would not be able to. Because these contacts are in her personal database, they're physically not seen by the team platform at all. That is something to keep in mind. If you're planning on nurturing that contact through the team platform, or you're knowing that there's going to be a transaction, you would want to move the contact over to the team database. But it's also peace of mind in the sense that these contacts are contacts that you own. So if they're contacts that maybe aren't yet associated with the team, or maybe you're still trying to scrub them before you move them over to the team, whatever it may be, this is essentially your own database. This is not associated with the team at all. I just have a smart plan set up with Team Class because these are the contacts that we can use. But as far as actual contacts go, the first thing I want to touch upon in your personal database, the only place that you guys are going to see contacts with this icon right here, the little green check mark. You'll see contacts under both databases with the lead icon. All that means is that it's a lead. This can be added manually. It will also automatically be added to leads that are captured electronically. That icon is completely fine. You'll see it under both database options. For the green check mark, this, when you hover over it, you'll see agent site connection. What that means is this contact physically signed up on your website or your mobile app. What it also means is as this contact looks at properties on the mobile app or the website, as they favorite properties, they can share them with you. They can communicate with you via the mobile app or via the website. They can send you messages on properties, whatever it may be. But once you have that icon, this contact profile cannot be moved to the team database, because what that would do is it's actually going to remove your big brother access to all of those properties that this contact is looking at. So this is a contact that I actually set up. This is my login for the mobile app that I've set up on Connie's account. It's our test contact. If I go onto the mobile app and I view properties, it's going to show up on the timeline of this contact profile. If Connie tries to move this over, it won't let her, thankfully. I would still not recommend trying. But in regards to teams that are manually deleting these and then recreating the contact with the same phone number and email under the team database, you are losing access to all of that content that the mobile app and website is capturing for you. So if you guys see this icon, green check mark, do not move it over to the team database. You will lose access to all of that information that those platforms are capturing for you. Again, all of the viewed listings, it's going to show you how many times they viewed certain listings, what listings they're viewing, what listings they're saving. They'll have access to actually share it with you. There's a ton of tools involved, but just a personal recommendation. That icon means that it stays in your personal database. And the beauty of this is if for some reason, if I move Chandler Bing over to the team profile and he decides to create a login on my mobile app or on my website, it's actually going to create a duplicate contact profile in my personal database. So again, if I move this over to my team database and he doesn't have the icon yet, it doesn't mean he can't make one. It just means that if he does create that account and I do gain that access to view those viewed listings, it's going to essentially create a new profile under my personal database. It's going to tack that icon onto it. And then I would just have to come in here to physically view those listings that he's looking at. Just something to keep in mind. Again, that's a question we get all the time. As far as tags go, you'll see right here, I have a couple of tags populating. These are primarily system tags. So what I'm going to do really quick is I'm just going to manually tag 3 contacts, and I'm going to go ahead and move these over to my team profile and show you guys where the tags go. So I'm going to add bulk tags really quick, and then just grab, we'll do past clients. And then let me refresh this really quick. And then in regards to moving contacts over, we do have a tip video that goes over how to physically move contacts over. We also have a tip video that again goes over how to physically capture leads as a team and just how to navigate the contact section, because really you guys have access to so many tools when you're a part of a team. It is a little bit daunting. Again, the notes that I shared at the beginning of class does break it down a lot. But if you guys start to go through those and you get stuck, by all means, just let us know. Because again, if you guys are using the account maybe a little bit differently, or you guys have come across something that doesn't work the same way, again, it probably has something to do with permissions and how it's set up. Don't panic. Just let us know. Shoot us an email and we will take a look at your account for you. Because again, I know it's a ton of information. So when I added some of those tags, it removed some of my contacts. I have a smart view set up, so it's just my fake contacts that I've added to her database. So in order for me to move this contact, I have team class and past clients already tagged. I'm in my personal database. And if I want to move this particular contact over to my team profile, I'm going to show you guys how to do that really quick. You guys can select up to 500 contacts, and you would just click on this entire checkbox if you wanted to move 500 at a time. But if you do just want to do 1 or 2, you would just select off the ones that you want to move over. And then once you have something selected, you'll notice this box appears, select bulk action. And when we click on that and scroll all the way down to the bottom, and if you guys are zoomed in, you may need to zoom out a little bit. It is literally the last possible option. It's underneath export mailing labels as PDF. You should see change account. I'm just going to go ahead and click on change account. And then you guys are going to get this pop-up. This is going to allow you to select the account you want it to be changed to. This is really only going to be important if you are associated with more than one team. If you're only on one team, don't worry, you're only going to have one option. If you guys are associated with more than one team, again, if you guys are out of more than one market center, hopefully the team name does vary. If it doesn't, I would just maybe figure out a way to have that labeled, whether the MCA can update it and just add the state to the team name. We have seen that done. But again, if you guys are in a unique circumstance and you're seeing something different, shoot us an email and I can take a look at your account. But once I actually select my team, I'm just going to go ahead and click on change. And it is instant. It just usually takes a second. So if I refresh this, Joey is now gone. He's not in my personal database anymore. So now, in order to locate Joey, I can do 2 things. I can either start by typing his name in here, and you'll see as I type in Joey, it says looking for more. There is one contact in your team account which matches this search. So I can switch over to my team account. And what that's going to do is it's going to automatically toggle me over to my team account. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on switch to team. And then here's my contact that I just moved over. You'll notice my tags are gone. They're not actually gone. They've just kind of relocated. So if you guys are in a situation where you did move contacts from a personal database over to a team database, you can go ahead and click on customize columns. And you can do this on your team profile. So just make sure you're on your team profile. And then you're just going to click on customize columns. And then you'll notice if you scroll down a little bit, you'll have legacy tags. I have that checked off. It's just at the absolute end of my list. So I'm just going to drag legacy tags up to right behind last contacted. So it's going to be one of the first things I see when I click on my database. So I just clicked on legacy tags. and then I moved it up. And once I've done that, I'm just going to click on apply. And here are my tags. So they won't actually be removed from the contact. They just become what somebody calls a legacy tag. It's just not using the actual team tags. That being said, they're still filterable. You'll notice that I can still click on them. So it will still pull up any contacts that are tagged with these tags. The only downside is it will not merge these tags with team tags. So in other words, if you guys have a past clients tag set up under the team platform that maybe the Rainmaker created, this past clients tag will not mesh with that original team tag. It will be its own standalone legacy tag. You can still use filters. You would just need to make sure that it essentially matches the color scheme. So in other words, if you guys are looking for past clients and you pull up, I think hers are actually filtered as purple. So if I click on my filters, I have team class set up right now. But if I type in past clients, I'll show you guys what it looks like. So you'll see this is the tag that I just moved over. It doesn't have an S and it's not purple. So if I actually click on this tag, it's going to pull up all of my legacy tags for past client. Just so you guys know how to physically find those. If you guys are, again, primarily working out of a team database and you're not going to be working out of your personal database, it will be easier if you are just directly importing into the team profile. Just make sure when you are importing, you are selecting yourself as the owner and or the assigned agent. That way you will at least be the one nurturing your contacts. I would also recommend if you are importing directly into the team database, mass tag your entire list, your name. Nice and simple, but it's going to make things a lot easier if you're looking to find all of your contacts down the line, or even if your Rainmaker is just looking to find all of your contacts and maybe set up like a smart view, or you're trying to add them all to one smart plan, whatever it may be, mass tag them something, whether it's your name, your initials, something, just so you can find them quickly and easily. So I'm just going to jump back over here. So that's pretty much it as far as contacts go. If I did skip something, let me know and I can always address it specifically. I am seeing some questions coming in and some direct questions coming in. I have one more section I want to go over really quick, and then I will just go through all of the questions with you guys. I just want to touch upon opportunities really quick just to show you guys what a team opportunity looks like, and then we'll dive into questions. So last but not least, we're just going to go ahead and click on opportunities, and that's the handshake icon. And again, most of you are probably familiar with setting up a basic transaction, setting up a basic opportunity. But what I want to do is show you some of the bells and whistles that you guys can utilize as a team. So it just kind of makes your life a little bit easier. So once we are in our opportunity section, the first thing most of you are probably seeing is that you guys are on the team profile. If you guys have a personal profile as well, something with your name, one of two things happened. Either your Rainmaker is allowing you the option to create a personal opportunity, or you're set up as the Rainmaker. If you're not seeing your name showing up, your account is completely fine. It just means that you are set up so that your transactions and opportunity will essentially be funneling through the team platform, which is completely fine. But you would need to make sure that as you guys are creating opportunities, if you're not working out of that team database, that you're moving your contacts over like we just did on a case by case basis, so you can actually create the opportunity. So if I come in here and I click on create an opportunity, I'm on the team tab right now, but I'm just going to go ahead and go through kind of like the steps of creating an opportunity, just so you know what to expect if you have not yet created one. So I'm just going to click on create opportunity. The first thing I can see is I can select my market center. If you guys are associated with more than one market center, this is huge. Make sure you're selecting the correct market center for that transaction. Once I've selected that, As a default, it's going to select my team name. Again, I am on the team tab, but if you are in a situation where you don't have a personal profile, it should automatically select your team as well. Underneath that, we have the opportunity type. Similar to a standard opportunity, you have all of your options: listing, buyer, landlord, tenant. You would just select whichever one applies. I'm going to leave this one as listing. Then you'll notice owner. Anytime you are creating an opportunity under the team, the owner is always going to be the Rainmaker. We've seen some agents panic thinking that they did something wrong here. If you are setting up a team opportunity, the owner is always, always going to be the Rainmaker. So this is correct. Underneath here, we have the actual client name. So all you would do is you would just start typing the name in. Do Brittanie team test. And if you guys are typing in a name and it's not coming up as an actual option, that means that the data or your contact is not in the team database. So if you guys are typing in a name, it means it's not in the team database if it's not showing up as an option on your drop-down list. I would also recommend, first and foremost, checking the spelling. But if you know that you're spelling it right, just make sure that you have manually moved that one contact over to the team database, especially if you're not primarily using that team database. This is something that you will need to remember to do before you create an opportunity. Then if you have a co-seller, you would do the same thing. They would need to have their own profile set up in the team database. Then if you guys are using custom tags, they're really not. They only have sphere and imported from Dotloop. If you guys are using custom tags for opportunities, for example, some are separating by like neighborhoods or how like hot, cold, whatever it may be, you can set those up as well. And then I have estimated close date. I'm going to leave that blank. It's not mandatory. Only everything with the red asterisk needs to be filled out in order for this opportunity to essentially be valid. Then we're going to come down to our commission rate. I'm just going to drop in 6%. And then opportunity phase. I'm just going to leave this as cultivate for right now, just so I can show you guys what it looks like on it from a team's perspective. For opportunity stage, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm just going to leave it as meet acquaintance, again, just to show you guys what it looks like. And then you'll notice down here, we have assignees. I have Connie Yates selected. If Connie is creating this opportunity and she's going to be the only one handling it, that's completely fine. She would just leave it like this. If she knows that Leah is going to be helping her with this and she's going to need access, especially if Leah is like the transaction coordinator, you're going to want to make sure that you're manually adding that person to the opportunity. So I can just go ahead and click Leah's name, and you'll notice that now I have Connie and Leah. What this is going to do is it's going to now add this opportunity to Leah's pipeline. Like what's in the background right here, we have our listing pipeline, our buyer's pipeline, and our leasing pipeline. This is going to add this opportunity to Leah's pipeline automatically. So now she can follow through this transaction and see everything that's going on and handle whatever Connie needs her to take care of. If you are set up as the Rainmaker, as a default, you will automatically have access to all of the team opportunities. You don't have to be manually added to anything. You will automatically be able to see every single team opportunity when you click on that team profile underneath opportunities. Every single opportunity that's been created by anybody on your team, you will be able to see. It's more so for those administrators, transaction coordinators. Maybe you have somebody who's brand new and they just kind of want to be kind of taken along for the transaction ride and they just need to be able to see what's going on. You can certainly add them on just so they can follow along on the actual opportunity and see it for themselves on their own pipeline. So that's just something to keep in mind. Once we've done that, I'm just going to go ahead and click on create. And that's just going to drop me into the opportunity. Once we have the opportunity physically created, you guys are going to see in the top right hand corner of any opportunity that you're in, you're going to see this, which is essentially a checklist. You have your client updates, which again, we have the tip video that I'll drop in the notes for you guys that goes over how to set up those custom client updates with the clients and either agents that are assigned, whatever it may be. You also have discussion, which is kind of like, think of it as like a command instant messenger. It essentially allows you to communicate with everybody who's associated with this transaction through this little icon right here. So because we have Connie and Leah as assigned agents or assignees on this transaction, they would be able to communicate via the discussion, which again is just kind of cool. So I'm going to show you guys what this physically looks like first. So if you guys have not yet set up a checklist, if you're not seeing anything populating here, I'm going to show you guys where that is. Again, we also have a tip video that goes over how to set that up. But if you guys have already set those up and you're seeing any sort of numbers right here, I'm just going to go ahead and click on it to show you what it looks like. So this is essentially just showing you guys what the checklist looks like when it's live in that stage. You'll notice that each stage you can kind of toggle through will have its own setup. They didn't set them up for every single stage. But as you toggle through, depending on which stage, which phase your contact or your opportunity is in, will depend which tasks are available. So for here, you have access to assign them. Again, kind of cool. So if Connie needs something to be taken care of by Leah, she can go ahead and assign this and click on Leah's name. In order to assign something to a team member, you do need to set a due date. So as long as I set that due date and click OK, it will lock it in. If I just assign it to her and don't give it a due date, this will not save. So keep that in mind. If you guys are assigning tasks to anybody on your team, just make sure you're giving it a due date. I can also go ahead and I can edit the due date. I can also delete it altogether. But once I actually close that out, Leah will be notified. It usually takes about 15 to 20 minutes, and it will notify her through the actual bell icon. She'll also be able to see it on her end when she opens the opportunity and clicks on the checklist option. She'll see that this is assigned to her and it's due on April 30th. So it's kind of a dual notification. She'll be able to see it both ways. If you guys have not yet set up checklists, I'm going to show you guys where those are really quick before jumping into the discussion section. So if you guys have not set them up, you can just click right back on your handshake. And then we're just going to go ahead and just click on any one of these sections. If you know that you've set one up for one of these sections, you can click on that one. I'm just going to click on cultivate and listings. And you'll see in the top right-hand corner, we have edit stages. And that's what that is. So it's essentially allowing you guys to edit them and kind of tweak whatever checklist that you guys have. So once you guys click on edit stages, you can add stages, you can remove stages. For example, if you want meet, acquaintance, form, relationship, hot, if you want to adjust those, you can. If you want to add checklists, this is where you would do those. Client updates, you can manually add those in as well. You guys can reorder them. So as far as your opportunities pipeline goes, you can really customize this to your heart's content. So you're not stuck with what Keller Williams International had originally provided you. They just kind of gave you a roadmap. But from there, you guys can come in here and you can tweak the names if something makes more sense to you. Maybe you guys have an additional section where you want to do before meet acquaintance, you want to do like internet lead and you want to be scrubbing them through opportunities first. Whatever it may be, feel free to come in here and add stages. You guys can edit them again. You can click on the actual checklist. So if I click on that, it will show you exactly what's been set up. I can add items. I can edit them. I can reorganize the order. I have edit and delete. So we have access to really edit any of these. You can also check off client update if it's something that the client does need to be updated on. So this is, again, just something to keep in mind. As far as notifications, I know that tasks, that's a common question for teams, how to set up tasks, how to make sure that people are being reminded to do certain items or nurture a certain contact, whatever it may be. Using the opportunity section, the second that somebody is interested or either starting to view properties or interested in potentially listing, you've had that communication, you've had that conversation, you can create an opportunity and kind of get the ball rolling with these checklists. So just something to keep in mind. So I'm going to click cancel out of that. And then I'm just going to go back to my listings. And I should have this one all the way down at the bottom. So now once I reopen up the same opportunity I just had, I just want to show you guys the discussion really quick. So top right-hand corner, I have my discussion, and this is from within the actual opportunity. Doesn't matter what tab I'm on, but I do need to be in the actual opportunity that I'm looking to create the discussion under. I can go ahead and click on discussion and then create discussion. And then from here, I can just start typing my message. So I can just put testing, and then if I do the @ symbol, I can just start typing my person's name that I'm looking to kind of tag in it, and then click on Leah and send it. And that's going to send a message directly to Leah. And I have Leah's account pulled up in the background. So I'm just going to stay on this screen. I just sent a message over to her. And if I pull up Leah's account, refresh it first. And if I go into my opportunities, first things first, we want to locate the opportunity that I just created from Connie's account. So we know it's under Cultivate. So I'm just going to click on Cultivate Listings. And then I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. You can see we use her account a lot for class. I have my Brittanie team test, and I'm just going to open my opportunity up. My discussion bubble is already populating. Notifications have been taking a little bit longer than usual. So if it does take a little bit to go through, don't panic. If they go directly to the opportunity, it will pop up for them as well. So I can now click on my checklist and I'll see that this is assigned to me. I can click on my discussions and I can see exactly testing. I can like it. I can comment back, whatever it may be. And then it will again notify Connie at that point as well. So this is just a great way if there's something that maybe you forgot to mention, or there's something that maybe has a timestamp or an expiration date, whatever it may be, you can also drop that into discussion. You guys can also share notes. I don't know if this is something that you guys have dabbled with before, but on every opportunity, as long as they are assigned to the opportunity, you also have access to add in notes on that opportunity, which is kind of cool. But any assignees will have access to these that are populating here. So as far as the opportunities go, this is just a great way to make sure that you guys are communicating, making sure that you guys know where to check for notifications, where to confirm things are set up, the client updates, the checklists, just kind of how to navigate those. And again, we do have mini tip videos that go very in depth in regards to all of the stuff that I just went over. They are all hyperlinked in the notes as well. So I'll make sure that you guys do have access to those. But that's pretty much it for opportunities. And then as far as contacting the MCA through discussion, you can technically, or you used to be able to, as far as when they communicate with you, that's usually going to be through the documents tab. So if something comes back and it's a compliance issue, you're going to have an actual note on those documents, very similar to Dotloop if you guys were Dotloop users before. But that would normally come through the documents tab. If your MCA is trying to communicate with you through command and you're not seeing the notification, let us know. That usually has something to do with the actual office's platform. For example, when you guys are creating the opportunity, if it's under one office and it's actually supposed to be under another, they may not have full access. So if, again, you guys are trying to communicate with an MCA in regards to a document and it's not coming through, let us know and we can take a look at your account. Last but not least, I know I said I was done. Really quick, I just want to show you guys smart plans. I completely forgot about smart plans. I'm going to jump back to Connie's account too. So for smart plans, this is something that a lot of agents panic when they click on this, especially if they've set up personal smart plans. So I'm just going to go ahead and open this up really quick. So once I open Smart Plans, this is one of the additional tabs. For example, contacts, just like contacts where I can toggle back and forth between personal and team. Smart Plans let you do the exact same thing. So right now, these Smart Plans that we're viewing are set up under the team account. What this means is anybody who is associated with the team can actually add their contacts to this Smart Plan. It's going to allow anybody on the team to use this Smart Plan. If I toggle back to Connie's personal account, these smart plans are only valid for Connie's personal database. So again, if you guys are associated with a team and you have smart plans that either you've manually created or maybe you've tweaked, but they're under your personal database, those will not be accessible for contacts that are under your team database. They each have their own platform. So if you guys have created smart plans, they would need to be recreated under the team platform. And as far as creating smart plans under the team platform, keep in mind permissions do play into that. So it does depend on the permissions that you're set up with. You would either need enhanced or unlimited in order to edit smart plans and to create. As of recently, you had to have unlimited. I'm not sure if that's permanent or if that's just something that's being updated though, because originally enhanced would allow you to do both create and edit smart plans. One last thing to keep in mind, if you guys haven't yet dabbled with this, my recommendation would be to take a look at this when you have a second. In regards to smart plans, and I'll jump back to team. In regards to smart plans, you guys do have a library available to you. So if you guys jump into smart plans, whether you're on your personal database or your team database, if you guys click on library, it's going to first pull up the actual KW provided smart plans. So these are the ones that Keller Williams International has. Oh, they just changed this on me. So Keller Williams International is now the second section. These are the ones that Keller Williams International has given you. As far as the editability, it's a little bit limited. They are pretty much a template, but you also have access to now featured. So these are like the top 9 smart plans that have just been shared by other agents, by maybe Market Center staff, and they found that it was working for them. So they shared the template with you. The beauty of using either featured smart plans or scrolling all the way down and using top rated or what's new, these are completely customizable. So these are essentially smart plans that you can add smart plan. It will drop it into your smart plans. And then from there, you can tweak and edit them. I'm going to pick a random one really quick. And this is all tasks. I'll do this one. So if I add a smart plan, I'm going to show you guys just how to tweak it really quick, because when it comes to team smart plans, a lot of teams have already set up some, not generalized smart plans, but some templates that you guys can then go in, customize for Facebook follow-up. Maybe you guys ran a Facebook ad or an open house follow-up. You guys can actually search those with the search button at the top. So if I do open house, it will pull up open house follow-up, my open house follow-up, and you guys can view the steps of what's actually going to happen. It gives you a preview of what the task is, what the message is. It kind of breaks everything down for you. So when it comes to selecting them, you can come in here and just kind of go through. Some of them are going to be very long. Some of them are going to be short and sweet. But as far as the template goes, it kind of allows you guys to adjust what's already been created instead of starting from scratch. So this is just a great tool to keep in mind. For this one, I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to grab a shorter one just so I can show you guys how to tweak it. So once you guys do find one that you want to use, if you just click on Add Smart Plan, it will allow you to tweak it. You can tweak the name. I'm just going to put Open House Follow-up and then Download. And then what that's going to do is it's going to drop this smart plan into my team smart plans right under team plans. And now I have open house follow-up. I can see exactly what's going to be sent out or what's going to happen. I can also come in here and I can click on the pencil and I can tweak it. I can add stages in, I can add steps in, I can remove steps. I have full editability to this entire plan. So I can tweak the task. Maybe I want to send an email. I can add that in, create a task. You guys have access to tweak these however you see fit. As always, whether you are using a Keller Williams International provided smart plan, whether you're creating your own smart plan, or whether you're customizing one that's been created by another agent or another staff member, always, always, always set yourself up on that smart plan before adding clients. A, to make sure that all of the spelling is correct, and B, just to make sure that it shows up correctly and that it's going out properly. With smart plans, keep in mind that they will only go out between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. Central Time, meaning that if you add 200 people to a smart plan at 9 p.m. Central Time or Eastern Standard, it's not going to go out until the next day at 10 a.m. Central Time. So it is smart enough not to send smart plans out kind of, at, again, the 3 o'clock in the morning thing with the lead routing. It is smart enough not to be emailing or texting your contacts at odd hours. It's only going to send them out between that 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. Central Time. So if you guys come in here, tweak it, just make sure that you're clicking save on the top right-hand corner, and then you can just start adding contacts to it. And again, if you guys are creating them under the team, anybody on your team is going to have access to them. So this is just a great option. It just kind of makes it a little bit easier rather than recreating any smart plans or kind of starting from the ground up. Or if you're not sure where to start, it's just a great tool to keep in mind. So that pretty much concludes everything. If you guys have additional questions or if you guys are watching the recording, anytime I mention the notes, they are hyperlinked underneath the video. So just make sure that you grab those. They are updated pretty much daily based on updates that are coming out or anything that we've noticed. So you guys can save that URL and just kind of check on it whenever you have questions or whenever there's anything that comes up and you may need additional assistance on it. If there was something specific you were looking to have answered, definitely let us know. Shoot us an email, support@scottleroymarketing.com, and we can always look at your account specifically. But I appreciate you guys coming to class, and I apologize. I know we went very over. But yeah, if you guys need anything else, just let us know.